Gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Here is my media feed. Here is my profile so that you'll know it's me. And we also have live merchandise, so go on over to the shop and get you a t-shirt, a sweater, a hoodie, whatever you may need for the winter season. Now, let's get into what I saw over the weekend in these college football games. Alabama and Oklahoma. That was the first game on the docket this weekend. It happened Friday night. Everybody was talking trash about how Alabama, they wasn't going to be able to win. Oklahoma was just going to do whatever they wanted to do. And that was totally the opposite of what happened. Now, Oklahoma, they started out good, 17-0 in the first quarter. John Mateer, he didn't light up the scoreboard like they were projecting him to do, but Alabama dug deep. And it started off slow. It really did. It started off slow, down to the tune of 17-0. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, Alabama, they cannot get blown out in this game. If they get blown out, then we would have had another conversation to talk about. But Alabama, they did what they were supposed to do. They shortened the game. They started chipping away at the lead. And a 17-point lead became a halftime score where they were tied at 17-17. When they were tied at 17-17, I said that I said that if Oklahoma doesn't score, then Alabama could pretty much run away with this thing. And as you can see, after Oklahoma went up 17-0 in the first quarter, Alabama outscored Oklahoma 34-7 throughout the remaining three quarters. So offense started to look inept after the first quarter. And we can see where I had Brett Venables coming on the hot seat, or well, on the chopping block coming into this season, and going into next season, I have him on the chopping block for Alabama and Keiwond Dowell. This is the kind of win that can really rejuvenate a football team. We already know that they lost those games earlier on in the season to the Florida States, and they lost that game to Oklahoma early in the season. But now we got a matchup that everybody is looking for. See, Oklahoma, they've been in the college football playoff every time they've lost in the first round. It was 2017 they went to the college football playoff, lost. 2018 went to the college football playoff and lost. 2019 went to the college football playoff and lost. 2021 lost. 2022 lost. So that's five, and even and including this one is six. So that's six times that's six times Oklahoma have made it to the college football playoff and lost in the first round. Oklahoma, they are not a championship contender. Me, I don't see a team being a championship contender if you get knocked out in the first round. I just don't see it. Now with Alabama and Ty Simpson, 18 of 29, 232 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions. Here is the rushing attack. They really didn't have anything in the rushing attack. Alabama, they need to improve on the rushing attack, because when you get in these later rounds, you are going to need the running game more than you need the passing game. Now, I know that Ty Simpson can throw his way, can throw Alabama to a victory, but you don't want to keep depending on that every game. And as far as Oklahoma, better luck next year, Boomer Sooner. Third down efficiency. My goodness. Alabama, they got lucky. They were 2 of 12 on third down in this game. Now, what do I always say about teams that go 2 of 12, 3 of 13? You're supposed to lose the game outright. But Oklahoma, they turned the ball over, gave Alabama some life, and that is where we are at right now, and that is the finality of this game. Now we see where Alabama plays Indiana in the next round. Now that Alabama Indiana matchup, it is going to be it is going to be a great matchup. I'm gonna give y'all a little previews about those matchups, but I am not going to give y'all my prediction to those matchups until next week. So Alabama, Oklahoma, Alabama, you had a good season and you still going on. And Oklahoma, you kind of like the new kid on the block when it comes to the SEC. You really don't know what to expect in the SEC just yet because you only done been in it for 2 years. So keep on trying to learn your way in the SEC, Oklahoma. Here I got some clips for Oklahoma and Alabama. So fourth quarter, this is the start of the fourth quarter, everybody. This is what I was telling you. Third down and 11. Ty Simpson go back to pass. And as you can see, offensive line, you got to do better. You cannot have your quarterback getting sacked on a third down and long. Here's 2nd and 4. Ty Simpson goes back. Jeremy Bernard. Now that was a great catch for Jeremy Bernard to get. And this was pretty much when the momentum shifted to Alabama. Because Jeremy Bernard, he had so much eye coordination and concentration on the ball. The guy that was defending him, it was like he wasn't even there. And so now here it is, 2nd and goal. Alabama scores. The Oklahoma kicker, he ended up missing 2 critical field goals down the stretch. And basically, that was the end of the game right here. That was the end of the game. So you get to the point where, and as you can see, as it's coming up, Mateer, he was running for his life in the second half. He really was. And Alabama, Kane Womack, I'm going to tell you something about Kane Womack. Kane Womack, you're going to have to change up that three down lineman formation. Ryan Grubb, you're going to have to call a better offensive game. See, that's what I say. When it comes, I'm not going to too much blame the players because it's about the coordinators. Ryan Grubb and Kane Womack, you're lucky. You're lucky. You're lucky. And another thing, Kalen DeBoer, Alabama's got to get off to faster starts. Alabama's got to get off the faster start. You cannot start off slow against a team versus Indiana. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something about Alabama and Indiana a little bit later on. My topic for that matchup is the inexperience versus the experience. But I'm going to go ahead and get to the most entertaining game that happened Saturday, and that was the Miami Hurricanes and the Texas A&M Aggies. Texas A&M Aggies have never been on a bigger stage than where they were Saturday. And Texas A&M, it was a letdown. It really was. It was a letdown from the offense to the defense for Texas A&M. You had Marcel Reed, 25 of 39, 237 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions that proved critical in a tight, close-knit game like this. Carson Beck, he didn't do much better. He was 14 of 20, 103 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He didn't do much better. But the thing I can say is that Miami, and yes, I'm going to say this, Miami is back. Miami is back. So all of you Miami Hurricane fans, Michael Irvin, I saw you on the field Saturday. I know you're happy. But there is one thing that I got to say. The matchup, the Miami Hurricanes versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. Does anybody remember the last time we saw the Miami Hurricanes and the Ohio State Buckeyes? That was the 2002 National College Football Championship. And when we get to this point, Texas A&M, Texas A&M, you see where the rushing game, Texas A&M, they didn't have anything in the rushing game. They didn't. And on top of that, when you look at that, the rushing attack was non-existent, and throughout the entirety of this season, Texas A&M, as far as rushing, they were near the middle of the pack in rushing. So Texas A&M, you still a newcomer when it comes to this. The last time Texas A&M won a championship was 1939 America. That's not even in modern times. So Texas A&M, you still have a drought of, let's see how long that is. 86 years of not getting a championship? Well, excuse me, not 86, because we about to turn over into 2026, so it's going to be 87. So all you Texas A&M Aggie fans, you got 87 years of a championship drought, and you still trying to find that elusive championship in the modern times of the world. We are a long way from where things used to be back in 1939. I mean, I can tell you, 1939, gas was only a nickel then. Gas was only a nickel, America, back in 1939. And now you see where gas is, you see where the price of bread is, you see where the price of milk is, you see where the price of eggs is, you see where the price of all groceries and all meat, poultry, chicken, whatever you want to see, you see where the prices are now. It's a different time in the world. We are in modern times. And when it comes to college football and sports period, and just with anything now, what is that phrase that I always like to use? We live in a time where it's a phrase that has dominated the streets, and you got big time people saying the exact same thing. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? And the Texas A&M Aggies haven't done dog crap, nothing lately. So Texas A&M Aggie fans, y'all still got 1939. You do, but you are not a championship contender. And whoever said that you were a championship contender don't know football, because you look back at the history of Texas A&M since 1939, they've always crumbled in a big stage, in a big time game. So that's all I got to say for Texas A&M. For the Miami Hurricanes, oh my goodness, the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Hurricane fan base, y'all need to go ahead and give y'all self a hand clap. Because it's been a while since I done seen y'all on a championship stage. The last time I saw Miami on a championship stage, I was little. I was just in diapers. Just in diapers, just coming back from just being born from the years of Michael Irvin and stuff. And then you have Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, and Miami pretty much just dominated college football from the late 90s and early 2000s. And then all of a sudden we get to a point where from 2005 to 2024, it's like 19 years of we just didn't have any Miami football to worry about. And now we get to a point where now the Miami Hurricanes offense, they still have problems on the offensive side of the ball. They still have that. But one thing I can say about Miami is a resilient bunch. And there's a player that I'm going to talk about right now. A lot of you may not know him, Malachi Tony. Malachi Tony, late in the fourth quarter, he fumbled the ball versus the Aggies. And I mean, he thought that it was game over. He went to the sideline, had his head down. I'm happy that the players, they went over there, talked to him, and said, "Hey, man, pick your head up. You gonna win us the game." And immediately after they said that, the defense went out there, got them a third down stop. The offense for Miami came back out on the field, and Malachi Tony scored what potentially was the game-winning touchdown. Now that is a comeback story in and of itself. It is. Now, one thing, I'm gonna show y'all a couple of clips of the Hurricanes and the Aggies. See, this was like middle third quarter, but it's gonna fast forward to the fourth. Marcel Reed, he had a bad day. He got sacked right there. And we get to the fourth quarter, the midway point of the fourth quarter. Now, see, this is where Texas A&M could have scored, but Miami, they started to stiffen. The Hurricanes defense started to stiffen, and this is where Malachi Tony, Malachi Tony runs for 16 yards. I believe this is where the fumble is coming up, but it really didn't have much impact. There's Malachi Tony, and there is the fumble. Now, what I was thinking about as this game, I'm like, will Miami have enough time to go back down the field? Miami went back down the field with a couple of runs. Now, this was a big run right here. This was the run to set up everything, and he was down to the 30, 3rd and 5. One of the biggest one of the biggest plays in the game. Malachi Tony scores a touchdown. Y'all see this, and you see Michael Irvin. The Miami Hurricanes. One thing I can say, the Miami Hurricanes, I said it earlier, they are a resilient bunch, and Miami, I don't know if the younger audience, they probably don't know, but Miami, back in the day, they were a matriarch of college football. They were a matriarch of college football, and when we get to a point where we need to see teams like Miami in the college football playoff consistently. We do. So Miami being back in the college football playoff, this is good. This is good. So that's all I have to say about the Miami Hurricanes and the Texas A&M Aggies. Miami, you're going on to play Ohio State, and Texas A&M, good luck for next season. And here go 2 blowouts. I'm not gonna show any highlights. I'm gonna just give y'all some rough analytics. Tulane, Trinidad Chambliss, 23 of 29, 282 yards, excuse me. 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Jake Rasliff, 20 of 35, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The rushing attack for the Ole Miss Rebels, 151 to Tulane's 115. Now, one thing I can say about this is I'm happy that TNT covered this game. I'm happy that TNT covered this game because of one reason, because I knew that this was going to be a blowout. And one thing about this game, here's the statistics. I'm not going to go into a deep analyzation of it, but there's a thing that we've got to we've got to do. We've got to start looking at these matchups in the first round and asking ourselves, is this worthy of viewership? Is this matchup worthy of viewership? Because this matchup, it wasn't worthy of viewership. When I found out that Tulane and Ole Miss was playing each other a week and a half ago, I said to myself, I'm like, this game is gonna be a blowout. And it happened just like that. So, college football playoff committee, you need to start scheduling worthy matchups for the first round because for the last 3 years we've had this problem. You can't have a worthy matchup in the second round and in the third round without having a worthy matchup in the first round. And preferably, the most worthy matchup of the first round Saturday was arguably Miami and Texas A&M. Now, if I was on the college football playoff committee, no group of five school would be playing the SEC. No group of five school. Because as you can see, and this is the same exact thing. This is the same exact thing I'm saying with Oregon and James Madison. Now James Madison, I mean really, James Madison, it was the halftime score, it was 34-6. 34-6 Oregon over James Madison. And that was halftime. I thought that was the final score for some reason. And then I looked and it was just halftime. But if I'm James Madison, I don't know I don't know how to feel. I really don't. Because James Madison, you score 34 points. You have over 500 yards of total offense if you're James Madison. And yet you still lose by 17. Now, I can say this. This is a contributory loss. And I don't use that word lightly because the word contributory means that you have two parties that's doing the exact same thing. So James Madison's defense contribute to this loss. James Madison, you see this, where third down efficiency for James Madison, they were 9 of 22. Oregon, third down efficiency, they were 3 of 7. 3 of 7 on third down. And Oregon, they didn't even attempt the fourth down play because look at this. Yards per pass, 11.6. And now we get to a point where we're not just looking at a matchup, we're looking at a blowout because I called this game after Oregon scored. It was 41-13, and I said this game is over. And Oregon, they were not going to be able to. Well, James Madison, they were not going to be able to win this game. And as you can see, I was right. So, college football playoff committee, we need better first round matchups. We need better first round matchups that will be more appealing. And I'm happy that for Tulane, Ole Miss game was on TNT, and I'm happy that James Madison and Oregon was on TNT because ESPN, there was no money for ESPN to make. This is America. This is why I be saying we do not like covering blowouts in a playoff game. We don't make no money when it comes to a blowout in a playoff game. As far as advertisements and everything like that, that is the only thing that this game had. What was a good advertisement team. But as far as the game itself, the matchups itself, the matchup on paper, It wasn't a matchup on paper because on the field it was a mismatch. The same with Tulane and Ole Miss. Both of these games, I didn't cover any of them. I didn't cover any of them. I just looked at them and gave my reaction video. So now let's shift on over to the second round matchups. Now, our second round matchups are pretty good. We got the Oregon Ducks versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders. We got Alabama and Indiana. In the All-State Sugar Bowl, we got Ole Miss versus Georgia. And in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, we got the Miami Hurricanes and the Ohio State Buckeyes. For Oregon and Texas Tech, I can see that being a close game. That is going to be a close game no matter what. And as far as defensively, I could see Texas Tech getting some interceptions off of Dante Moore in this game. For Alabama and Indiana, whoo, we got Alabama and Indiana. My topic for that matchup is the experience versus the inexperience. I'm going to tell y'all something. Now, when you think about the Indiana Hoosiers, when you think about the Indiana Hoosiers and their fan base, has anybody, this is a genuine question, America. Does anybody in their friendship circle have a fan that is a fan? Does anybody in their friendship circle have a fan that is a fan of the Indiana Hoosiers? Because I know for sure I don't. Indiana, they have a good success story. They do. But Indiana, they have a Cinderella story right now. And their Cinderella story, it may run out. It may run out. But Indiana, as far as their football program was in the dumps until 2 years ago, because it was like for about a good 65, 70 years, Indiana, they didn't do anything. Then you get Kirk Signetti, you get a couple of transfers, you get about 50 transfer players in the transfer portal, and then all of a sudden now, Indiana, it seems like that they are a powerhouse, but I wouldn't necessarily go that far. Because every team that becomes a powerhouse, they have to face an SEC powerhouse in order to make sure that they are a championship powerhouse. Now, Indiana, they ain't no championship powerhouse. Indiana, I'm going to tell y'all something. Indiana is like that new person on the block that just moved into a new neighborhood, and within 2 weeks, all of a sudden they friends with everybody on the damn block. That's what it is. Indiana, we really don't know Indiana Hoosiers football like that. The last time the Indiana Hoosiers football was relevant was 1947. They in the same boat as Texas A&M, like I said earlier in the show. Indiana. We're going to see what Indiana is made of. Now, I see where Vegas, they got Indiana as the favorite against Alabama. Vegas had Oklahoma as the favorite against Alabama. And we see how that turned out. I believe Indiana, they are not going to blow out Alabama. No. Ain't nobody going to blow out Alabama because, like I said, that would not go well for people that have put so much money into this game, whether you are betting it or advertising it or doing whatever. Even me. I certainly don't want to see a game where Alabama gets blown out because you know how much money, viewership wise and advertisement wise, that we would lose as fans. I'm just saying. I mean, this matchup, Alabama and Indiana, is probably, if not the best matchup for the second round, it's one of the best matchups. Now, we only got four, but arguably all four of these could be the best matchup. And once we get down to the All State Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss had a chance to beat Georgia earlier this season. Now, Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, they still have secondary problems. When players get into their secondary, the secondary hasn't been good for like the last 3 or 4 years. I can say that with the Georgia Bulldogs. But there's one thing: is Georgia just an above average contender? Because for the last 3 years, we've seen Georgia since since those two championships they won, well, against no competition rather, we've saw Georgia lose in the playoffs, not make it to the playoff, and then lose to the playoffs like they did last season. Georgia is a 6.5 point favorite. I would expect that point spread to decrease over the next week and a half because, I mean, come on, you can give. I know that Ole Miss, they are worthy for 3 of those points. I know Ole Miss is worthy for 3 of those points. And the last game on the docket, too, Miami and Ohio State. Flashbacks from 2002. Now, I've already heard some people say that Miami got robbed from that game that happened back in 2002. That's the past, everybody. That's the past. Let's focus on what is going on right now. There, there's there's a scenario where Ohio State may blow out Miami. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. There's a scenario where Ohio State may blow out Miami, and I would not be surprised if Ohio State did that because Carson Beck, he throws interceptions. The bigger the games get, Carson Beck throws the more interceptions. And Ohio State, they are still the defending champion. And Ohio State, they are the odds on favorite to win the championship. So Miami, Miami, they got their work cut out for them. They do. They have their work cut out for them. Ohio State, I know for the last couple of weeks, they have been wanting to get back out there on the field because last time they was out there on the field, they lost to the Indiana Hoosiers. And I know they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth. But these are just the previews that I'm giving y'all of Oregon versus Texas Tech, Alabama versus Indiana, Ole Miss versus Georgia, and Miami versus Ohio State. These are just previews. I'm going to give you my predictions next week. Next week, before these games start, I'm going to give you my predictions. So, all in all, the first round of the playoffs was a bad look. It was pretty much a bad look. When you think about the matchups and you think about as far as the matchup predictor, you had 2 of the 3 games that were pretty much blowouts and that were over before halftime even commenced. So, all in all, the playoffs are here, and One last thing I want to say is please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, the keyonmillions.co. Here's some live merchandise. Here is the here is my profile so that you will know it's me. Here is here is my media feed so you will know where to see my latest takes media feed. And remember, everybody, one last thing, the key is always on time.